super excited about our next guest.
Yes.
David Nussbaum is from Proto. Now, our David, our DJ, had a quick take earlier this week, which was, I guess, yesterday, or was it last week?
Last week.
Yeah,
It was last week. Again, I feel like Al, I don't know what day it is.
That wasn't Al. That was his copy. Don't blame
Al. It was his copy. Sorry, Al. David is the CEO of a company that has created sort of teleportation. You can teleport an image of somebody. It's not the real person, an image of somebody that's, thousands of miles away. And we were fascinated by this. And we must have posted the podcast. So thank you for posting that. Please follow our podcast. David saw it and reached out to us. And we had lots more questions about this. So we're excited to have him on to talk about this. He's got a cool Minnesota connection, and he's going to tell us about this cool new technology. That's next.
Here is the goal. Back with the bass,
I grew up a Trekkie. My dad was a huge Star Trek fan, so Beam Me Up, Scotty was something that was often heard in my house when we wanted to get out of a situation. And when I saw this really cool technology, and David brought it up in quick takes, and he sent us a picture of this box that, yes, William Shatner was in, and they were beaming his likeness to somewhere else where he wasn't in his location. I thought, oh my gosh, this is Star Trek come to life. This is technology come to life. This is absolutely so cool. Joining us now is it's pretty good. That kind of sounds like it. Beam me up, Scotty. Right? The teleporter. I love it. CEO David Nussbaum from Proto.
If he's still on the line.
I know, right? That was sorry, we're screwing around, David. I'm sorry. Proto is the company that David founded that has created these hologram boxes. And David Nussbaum, not only the CEO, but also the inventor of Proto. And he is joining us on the line on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline. David, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, my God. This is amazing. Adam and Jordana, I am so happy to be on this show. It was incredible to see this hit my feed that you guys talked about us last week. And this is amazing. Thanks for having me.
I mean, honestly, David, your team did reach out to me on Instagram.
Why? Okay. Yeah. David, how good can it be? You're on the phone right now. You should be in a hologram in the room with us.
Well, we're working on that.
Okay.
I think, look,
All
the
right.
first thing is you talk about us. The second thing is we talk over the phone. And then the third thing is I'll beam in.
All right.
So, this is a three-step process.
Baby steps. I get it.
David, I read from Owen, somebody who works for you. He said you invented this technology in your living room. So come on, give us the origin story of Proto.
It's true. My background is in broadcasting. I wanted to be Adam and Jordana when I grew up. All I ever wanted to do was be on the radio. I'm telling you, you guys are doing my dream job. And so I worked for a bunch of radio stations over the last 20-something years, and I never quite made it to that level where you guys are at. So I figured, what is the future of broadcasting? And so I started a podcast where I ended up meeting my wife on episode 9, and later on, I invented Proto technology, which to me is the evolution of broadcasting. Instead of talking into a microphone and hearing your voice come out of a speaker, you're broadcasting you. You're beaming you from wherever you are to unlimited locations, and it looks like you're there, and it feels like you're there.
If you still want to trade, we'll do that today. You can have this show tomorrow, and we'll take over your company. So how did you make this work? How difficult was it to say, okay, I've got this idea and turning it into reality? And what is your vision for how this will change the way we communicate?
So we all have great ideas, and I happened to be a person who was surrounded by really, really creative and intelligent folks, right? So I've got a great support system around me. Right before I started Proto, I was running a part of a holographic entertainment company that was really famous for bringing dead musicians back to posthumously perform on big, giant hologram stages. So I thought, wow, what if now I know how to make holograms? What if instead of bringing back the dead, I used broadcasting them to connect the living? So I scrapped whatever money I had in the bank. I put it into a bunch of prototypes that my wife generously allowed me to do. She believed in me. So I started building these like holographic telephone booths in my living room, and one worked-ish enough so that I just started schlepping that thing to every trade show and convention that would let me through the door. And eventually it caught on, and people started wanting to do this. And now now it's a thing. We're beaming people places. With the evolution of artificial intelligence, we're doing so much more, not just beaming people places, but we're in colleges and universities and medical centers and galleries. It's just the most amazing thing.
And props to your wife, Charla, by the way. Clearly, she was integral in making this happen, and she is also a Minnesotan. Is that right, David?
She was born and raised in St. Paul. And, I met her on my podcast, which I don't do anymore, because saying you want to be on a podcast is not as powerful as saying you want to be a hologram. So I've also evolved. And she was somebody who I wanted to meet. And she did a television show years ago, and I was fascinated by her. So I interviewed her on my podcast, and we fell in love. And now we've got 3 children. By the way, one of my children named after a lake in Minnesota as well. So
lake?
I'm a big Minnesota fan.
Mille Lacs? Which lake?
It's Lake Francis.
Oh,
so
good.
I proposed to Charla on Lake Francis, and while she was pregnant with Francis. So there you go.
You've been working with some big celebrities on this. It's I'm reading here. John Bon Jovi, I'm a huge fan. I'm a Jersey girl. Installed this in his Nashville nightclub. Howie Mandel is using it. I mean, we saw William Shatner.
Okay, so how is it being used in a nightclub?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, sure. Well, as a meet and greet. You can beam Bon Jovi in, or any entertainer, anybody who needs to be somewhere who can't physically be there. It's an incredible meet and greet, because now you could be anywhere in the world, beam in. It looks and feels, and it's like you're there. Your presence is felt. It's not like seeing you on a screen. It is like you're there. And we've seen this happen over and over again. We beamed Olivia Rodrigo in from New York to a Target activation that she had in Los Angeles. People were taking selfies with her. People were asking her questions. We've done this. Elton John, if we're just talking about musicians, beamed him from London into all Christie's auction houses simultaneously so he can talk about some memorabilia that he put up for auction. And so it really generates attention, and it also saves people a lot of money and time. When we beamed Bill Shatner to Australia, he said, "This isn't a hologram company. You're a time machine company. You just saved me 6 days of travel." And that's really important for a 90-something-year-old.
So wow, is William Shatner that old?
He really is. And you know what? If you look at the most recent picture of me and William Shatner next to each other, you wouldn't be able to tell who was older. This guy looks incredible for his age. Or I look terrible for mine. One or the other.
93, by the way. 93.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah. We're talking with David Nussbaum. David is the creator and CEO of Proto, which is basically like a 400-pound box. It's a white box that helps you beam your likeness to other locations. But David, let me explain it for the listeners, and maybe you'll help me here. The box needs to be in the location. How does the person need to be in another box, or can they beam from their phone?
Yeah, so they could beam from any regular 4K camera. It could even be your iPhone. So we have an app on the Apple Store. So you could just download. It's a free app, and then you could beam just like you're doing a Zoom or doing a TikTok live. Instead of streaming, you can beam, and you can appear like you're physically in any one of our displays. The boxes come in different colors and in different sizes as well. But yeah, we have about 1,000 of them out in different locations, 30 countries, 50 universities. And so now you could beam in, have your meeting, and beam out. And it is the safest way to travel.
So
cool.
Is the next step then like removing the box, where someday it would just be like a 3D hologram of somebody without
like
having the need for that box? I mean, are you already trying to think of the next way?
Would love that. That Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi is the crown jewel of all holoportation people. However, I think the next step is taking this from boardrooms into living rooms. I'd like to see in about a year or two a display that works effortlessly and seamlessly in your home, helping you with making your life easier, your work smarter. And I think this is a way for your children to be educated, you to be entertained. And it really, I think, just advances the way people communicate.
But it's also in hospitals, right? So are physicians able to actually go and examine patients that aren't with them?
This is the most exciting part. Right now, for example, West Cancer Center in Tennessee, they're beaming the doctors from Memphis into the more rural locations in Tennessee, like in Paris, Tennessee, for example, for face-to-face patient-doctor consultations. This is not telehealth. This is like proto holohealth. And in other locations, in some parts of the world, they're beaming the patients from the super rural areas into the big cities where the doctors are. So they not only can have consultations, but they could be seen, diagnosed, and even potentially treated because it looks like you. It's you. If you're 6'1", you appear 6'1". Your shadows and your reflections, it is you in that doctor's office, even though you may be 7,000 miles away.
Okay, you're making a great pitch, and everything you're saying is very incredible. Mm-hmm. It's the future, but we got a text, and we talk about this all the time, about the ways that we've really lost human connection with our communication devices. What is your argument saying, okay, well, is this really human contact, or are we just pushing ourselves further away from actually having to be present with each other and have actual human contact?
Well, that's a great question. Unlike wearing a VR headset or a set of those AR glasses where you are separating yourself from everybody else in the room and only living within that world, Proto is a communal experience because the display is there for everybody to see. So what you see and what you're interacting with everybody around you is also participating in it. Besides, look, of course, I'd rather be there with you in person. I'd love to be in the studio with you in person. I can't, so I'm on the phone. So I still feel that level of contact. However, if I was beaming in, it would be somewhere between this and physically being there. So we're getting closer and closer. I don't think we're removing the physical contact. I think we're just getting much closer to that. And obviously, look, Proto is chipping away at the future. This is what we have right now. I can't wait to see what 3 or 4 or 5 years from now looks like.
So is this possible for regular folks? How much does this cost?
Regular folks are buying this. Okay. We have a tabletop unit. These are enterprise, retail, and commercial grade right now. So they are priced for business to business. Mm-hmm. They start out as little as $2,500 a month for the big one. And that is, so like some of our customers are buying several units and they're just like leasing them for $2,500 a month. They're putting them across their campuses or in their retail stores or in their offices. And it's really developing quickly. So when we first started, it would take 3 or 4 seconds to get somebody to beam from somewhere to somewhere else. Now it's under 200 milliseconds, which is faster than Zoom. And it's in 4K resolution. We just did this with Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast, global superstar, beamed him from 1,000 feet inside of Earth in a subterranean cave in New Zealand. We beamed him up and out and to the top of a bridge in the middle of the wilderness of North Carolina. And so he could check in on another video and really show off this new, if you can't be there, you can beam there technology. So beaming anybody anywhere, super inexpensive. If you want to compare it to some of the hologram stuff that I used to do, bringing back all of the dead musicians, that cost millions of dollars to do. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Where are we at with that? Are we still bringing dead musicians back? And I'm wondering, will the future be like, I lost Mom 15 years ago, but we've got enough video of her where I can communicate with her.
Sure.
Yes. So Mom and AI, obviously there's a lot of ethical concerns. Yes. We like to put a lot of guardrails in place.
Good.
So I would never talk to we would never bring anybody back or do anything with anybody without their permission or maybe the permission of somebody who's running their estate. Obviously, with AI, you have to be very, very careful. Proto is a very ethical company that will only do the most ethical things. So with AI, we're using it to help advance communications. help make business better without all of the concerns that a lot of people have when it comes to artificial intelligence. We're not replacing jobs. We're just helping you do your jobs better.
Gosh, David, your parents must be very proud. I'm felling.
My parents,
listening to you.
They are. My parents, by the way, still in New Jersey, so I'm also a New Jersey guy. So we do have two connections.
There you
my
go.
My parents, Joyce and Michael, are probably listening to this right now. Hello, Mom and Dad. And they have a little proto miniature device in their home. My children beam into their home, so they not only get to, having 3 kids under 10 and having 2 parents over 80, it's not easy for them to communicate over Zoom or FaceTime. It's really hard to make that true connection, but we beam into each other's homes now. And so it really is starting to happen. And we do have Mom and Dad on hologram hard drive forever. So my great grandkids will get to know who my parents were. It's really, really wonderful.
I mean, this is amazing.
It is amazing. Here's the last question for you. We got about less than a minute left. For the average person, what do you think their first interaction with this will be? In what circumstance?
It depends. We are in several retail locations, so you might want to, you might walk into like a big box store one day, and a holographic interactive greeter helps you navigate through the challenges of finding the right product at the right price. Maybe you're walking into a museum and a docent helps you through all of the different pieces of artwork. By the way, in any language. I have an AI, Adam and Jordana, of me that speaks 140 languages.
Amazing.
And I barely speak English properly. So the fact that my AI can speak to you in Italian or in French or whatever, I think that is how we're going to start bridging the communication gap.
I mean, this is beyond. I need to just... David, thank you so much.
Fill in for us anytime you want. Come on in, and we'll take your company over, and you'll do a week on the radio.
Yeah, when you visit in Minnesota, your wife's parents, you'll come in and you'll do a show with us.
If you're serious, I will be there. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Wow, very cool, David Nussbaum from Proto. I mean, the future is now. This is so cool that this is happening. Yeah, let's take a break and we'll react in a minute.
We just came up with the 14 next steps of this thing. I think David should hire us because we have the ideas are flying over where this portal technology goes.
He actually makes things happen. We're just inventing stuff that we think is cool.
That's what he was doing. He says he surrounded himself with smart people who knew how to do it.
I guess that's right. I'm sorry. This is just so cool. I'm like nerding out about this. Because he got me when he said, like, the grandparents can see their grandkids. Because as a person who does live away from family, my sisters and brothers and parents are all on the East Coast. Like, that would be a thing that we would use all the time. And Mark has grandsons on the East Coast, and his son is there. And we FaceTime every day. But that would be really cool to be able to see them, feel like they're in the same room.
3D image, feel like they're physically in the room with you. Then the next step is figuring out, okay, how do you touch somebody virtually? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that's going to be worked on.
Absolutely. Get in the box.
Yep.